All right, my fellow nerds and nerdettes, we are going to be discussing the brain and neurons today. Well, it's, just a short little video here. It shouldn't take too long. If we were in class, this entire unit, we have so much fun with this unit. There's so much I want to show you and explain to you, but I just can't do it when we're online. So I'll give you a basic discussion of what's going on with your brain and neurons, and you'll just kind of have to make do with that. If you take my anatomy class next year, maybe we'll be able to get to some of this. Maybe not. We'll just have to go on. So as you can see, we're talking about brains and neurons. And neurons are actually a type of cell that make up your nervous system. This is what a neuron looks like, just a very general drawing of it. A neuron contains these tentacle-like things that look or that connect to the main body of the cell. These tentacles are called dendrites. Now, there's a bunch of dendrites, but there's only one outgoing line here. This line that's outgoing is called an axon. Now, this axon spreads right here into these different terminals. And these terminals are what are going to connect with other dendrites of other cells. The signal always travels in only one direction. It always comes from this end, from dendrite to cell body, and from cell body down to the axon. And then right here, it would be passed on to the dendrite of the next nervous cell, and the signal would keep going. So this is how a nervous signal is sent. It's sent by electricity. There are other types of cells that are within your nervous system, and this isn't even all of them. You've got a whole bunch of microglial and oligodendrocytes and astrocytes, and it just goes on and on and on, Schwann cells. So just your basic neuron. Now, as with any nervous system drawing, they don't always look like they do in real life. This is what a neuron looks like in real life. It's really hard to tell in this picture which ones are the dendrites. Well, this one's a dendrite, and this one is as well, and so is this one. Is this the axon, or is that the axon? It's kind of hard to tell just because this is a neuron that's been smeared onto a screen and stained with different colors so you can see different parts of things. This is also a different picture of what one looks like. You can see multiple dendrites coming in and then one clear axon coming out here. So you have a whole bunch of different looking, what they really look like in real life. So neurons come in different shapes and sizes. The smallest ones are just 4 microns wide. So if you consider that a micron is 1/1000th of a millimeter, this space from here to here is 1 millimeter. So if you were able to section this down into thousands, 1/1000th of a micron, and then add 4 of those together, so 4 little microns, you'd have that size of that neuron. And then there are some that are 100 microns wide. You're talking super teeny tiny cells. And so neurons, the size and shape of them vary depending on what you need done. All right. And so in this case, there's unipolar, where the cell body's here and it comes down like that. There's bipolar, which comes like this. This is a pseudo-unipolar. We always also call this monopolar. And then multipolar. I don't know why this marker keeps coming up there. That's weird. This is the one I've shown you. This is the one I've talked to you about. But in my anatomy class, we learn what each type of these do. This one is actually one of the reasons you feel pain. This guy is one as well. And then there's motor neurons, there's sensory neurons, all kinds of different ones. So how it works, we've shown you this. There's these dendrites coming into a cell body and then out through the axon. Well, that signal that travels down is an electronic signal. And when it reaches the end of the axon terminal, it has to cross to the next nerve cell. In order to do that, it has to pass a gap. So this is the axon terminal, which is this part right here. This would be the dendrite of the next neuron, which would be right here. So dendrites. And in order for that signal to come down, it has to cross this little section here called a synapse. And the way it does it is you have an electric signal that's coming down, coming down, coming down. And when it hits this part, it tells the cell to release neurotransmitters. And so there's a chemical signal that is sent across the gap, and it stimulates an electrical response again. So it goes electrical, chemical, electrical, and it all happens so quickly that your entire nervous system can act in response. The amount of time it takes for you to think, snap your fingers, and you snap them is almost instantaneous. That's how quickly this system works. Groups of neurons, your nerves are not alone. They work in tandem with other nerves. And so you have one nerve that's firing an impulse, and do you see how when it splits into the axon terminals to land on the next nerve, it does it in multiple parts? That's because your nerves are very interconnected. They work together, and you have this hyperconnection of nervous system tissue, nervous system cells that allow you to conduct nerve impulses so your body can work. And again, this is what I talked about on the last slide. You have your electrical signal that comes down. It's then converted into a chemical signal. And when this neurotransmitter reaches this receptor, the electrical signal starts again. So you have electrical to chemical, and then it would be to electrical again. This is your brain. This is what your brain looks like inside. This is just a plastic model, but you can see how it fits inside your skull here. This would be the front of your head. This would be the back here. And so you have your frontal lobe, your temporal, your parietal, your occipital. Your cerebellum is underneath it, and your brainstem is in the middle coming down there. Your brain has two different hemispheres. This stuff that's on the top here is called arachnoid mater. I know, mater. But you learn that all these layers that cover the brain are called meninges. And there's dura mater, arachnoid mater, pia mater. Those are the three main ones you guys learn about in anatomy. But just kind of a little hint of what this gooey stuff is there. So time for you to think. And the question I propose is, if all neurons look and act basically the same, what makes our brain different? Does the size of the brain matter? Why is our brain so special? If you think about it, this guy right here is an elephant brain. Now, elephants have a long memory. They're very smart. They are not human smart. This right here is the human brain. By comparison, the elephant brain is much bigger. Dolphin brains are much bigger. You get into some of these whales and stuff, they can have big brains. But if you look at the rat here, the rat has a very small brain. And so we have different brain sizes. What is the difference between this human brain that makes it so much better than every other brain out there? Just a little thought for you. This lady, I want you to watch this video. It's a little long and she's a little annoying. I want you to watch and she'll explain to you why she thinks the human brain is so important. This is a whale brain, blue whale, human brain. If it was just brain size, the blue whale would dominate the planet, but it's not. We're roughly the same size brain as a dolphin. And don't go telling me dolphins are smarter than humans. They're not. Every year I get some girl, "Oh, Mr. Grisco, dolphins are smarter than humans." No. They're not. They're smart. They're not human smart. We are the apex of brain intelligence here. So watch this video. See if you agree or disagree with her. And then if you didn't understand something, send me a message and we can talk about it. For me, Human intelligence is about the number of neurons, not the size. We have relatively the same size of neurons with rats and other animals, but we pack those neurons in super tight, super concentrated, all right? Rats can actually have larger neurons in some cases, but larger neurons does not mean more neurons. It just means the size is different. And because we pack those neurons in super tight, we have this hyper-connected brain with lots of different pathways. And in fact, when you learn something new, it is because you have made a connection between neurons in your brain. So it does you no good to try and short study something. You want to study and prepare for something long enough to create a new connection, and that's how memory works. Last thing, I show this every year to kind of lighten the mood. He's not a comedian, but he's funny. He does marriage counseling for couples, and he talks about the brain. And so if you just the picture here, you see the man and the woman dancing, and she's imagining him propose, and she's all imagining love and thinking about how they're going to get married, and he's thinking about Batman fighting a bear and who would win. And it says never in sync. So give this a watch. It makes me laugh. I think he's funny. And that's it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I just wanted to kind of give you a short little introduction to how your brain is set up and how it works. And that's all for now. Have a good day.